Hello everyone, we are down to the last few weeks of the semester for this course. I know some of you, this will be it. So let's get down to business when it comes to what you should be working on for the last remaining weeks of the course. First of all, make sure you review the chapters 1 through 10 within your textbook and the PowerPoint presentations to assist you with completing these remaining assignments. For the assignments themselves, we have the course participation, which really isn't an assignment that you're used to where you would just do a discussion board posting. This is basically saying, hey, just make sure you're communicating with your team. So if you stay in constant communication with your team, you're going to receive 100 points for that for the next few weeks. If I receive feedback from your team members that you are not communicating, obviously you will not receive the points. You have a case study, which is the Pepsi company. You have the Globus simulations, decisions for year 15. You have the Globus peer evaluations. And keep in mind that's the post-game peer evaluations, which I'll cover here in a moment. A new assignment, which is the research paper, which is on disruptive technologies. The annual report, I'll touch on that here in a moment, and the Capstone project. So let me go ahead and scroll down. I already covered about the course participation for weeks 13 and 15. Make sure you're communicating with your team and you receive 100 points. It's not 100 points per week, it's just 100 points overall. You have the case study, the Pepsi company that you must complete, which you're very familiar with the case studies by now, so that should be straightforward. You have the last year in the Globus simulation, which is year 15 decisions. So this is where you can just go all out. You're not worried about year 16, so you will definitely be able to take risk that you normally would not in the past, because if you did, you would pay the price in year 16. You can just go all out and just try to increase your score as much as possible. Then we have the Globus simulations post-game peer evaluations. Very similar to the mid-game. Just go ahead and complete them within Globus. Keep in mind, I do not share the outcome with your team members, so be honest. I use them for grading purposes. Next, we have the research paper, Disruptive Technology Analysis. So basically, what I'm asking you is, what technology do you believe that will have an impact on how business will be conducted in the future? I'm leaving it wide open instead of making it narrow and making you choose from certain technology. You get to pick. So the great part about this, if you're currently working somewhere, I would say stick within that industry and try to figure out what's going to disrupt it in maybe 10, 15, 20 years. I would say something as simple as like an Apple Watch. I have an Apple Watch, okay? To me, that disrupted the watch industry. You see about everyone with some kind of similar smartwatch on nowadays. I'll go through a McDonald's drive-thru, and the person who's handing me my bag of food, they have a Apple Watch, okay, instead of just a generic watch that we all used to have in years past. So that's what I'm looking for. If you cannot think of one within your current place of employment, that's fine. You could pick just any disruptive technology. Next one, we have the annual report. So the annual report, for some of you who've been asking me over and over, and say, hey, these yearly reports, shouldn't they be the same? Shouldn't we have the same format? And the answer would be, for a true annual report, yes. But we really have not been doing that. We've just been basically answering some questions, 3 to 5 questions per week. This is going to be a true annual report. So you absolutely going to want to download the instructions from step 1 to make sure you understand what should be included in the report. Now keep in mind, the research paper is an individual paper. The annual report obviously is a team assignment. So the entire team can work on the annual report together. So make sure you download the instructions. Also, do not forget step 2, which is reviewing the grading rubric. Obviously, I adhere to the grading rubric. So if I open up the annual report and you meet the criteria, you get points for it. Okay. Obviously, if I did not specify in the grading rubric, I cannot take points off or also give you points that doesn't exist within the grading rubric. So keep that in mind. You definitely want to analyze the rubric and the instructions to make sure you have a complete understanding of the assignment. Obviously, once you have completed the assignment, go ahead and upload it to Blackboard. Last but not least, the capstone presentation to the Board of Trustees, which the Board of Trustees is the instructor, which is me. Normally in person, your peers would also listen to the presentation. Obviously, as you know, with the online class, it would be about impossible to get the entire class online at any given day or time. So we are only going to do it within each team, like we have the introductions at the very beginning of the semester. As you can see, within step 3, the team is actually going to go ahead and schedule their presentation with me. First come, first serve. So keep that in mind. But obviously before that, you want to go ahead and review the capstone presentation details, the grading rubric for the presentation. Make sure that you have it uploaded to Blackboard before giving the presentation so I can review it prior to you actually presenting online. That will allow me an opportunity to kind of maybe formulate some questions prior to your presentation. Now, when it comes to the online presentations, every team member must participate. So that means you at least, let me say that again, you at least need a mic. I know there was a few minor issues at the beginning of the semester, and maybe even some team members, even up to this point, might be having issues with their mic. Keep in mind, you have several weeks to get that worked out. I'm just using a mic that came with my iPhone, the headset, so I'm not using anything special. Most people use something similar as what I'm using. So I can't see it be some big cost to you to obtain a mic. So make sure you have one. If you do not, or if it doesn't work that day, you absolutely will be deducted points. Not the other team members, but you. Okay, so each team member should have certain slides. So if you don't perform during those slides, that's on you. That will not affect the team. Okay, I know every team members for the most part have been trying hard. Teams have been challenging. Hey, that's the real world. That's why we do it. But with that said, at the very end, each team member will be graded based on their portion of the presentation. Okay, so you don't have to worry if you're concerned about a certain team member at the last moment is not completing their slides or doesn't have a mic or saying they might not be there. That's on them. And that's my concern, not your concern. You can always just reach out to me and just provide me the information and I'll take it from there. Now, with that said, hopefully we just keep it all positive. If you got to this point, you have pretty much worked hard. There's a lot of assignments that you have already completed, and hopefully you are finding and will have found the class very valuable to you. Now let's review the Year 14 scoreboard. As you can see, Team A and Team F tied for Year 14. This is going to be a tough competition between those two, and maybe others though. Team B, they actually gained a point up to 89, where Team A and F actually each lost 3. So it seems still like there's a big gap, but you never know with that last year how it may end up, because the great thing about making decisions for year 15 is you do not have to worry about year 16. So you probably could make decisions for year 15 that you would not make if there was a year 16, because you would have to pay the price. So definitely have at it. Especially like a Team B, throw caution to the wind if you think you can increase your score as much as possible, since you don't have to worry about a year 16, only year 15. We have Team C that even though they lost 3, they're still in the hunt. They're holding ground, because as you can see, Company D and Company G, they each lost 3. Now with Company G, losing 3 points is not as bad as what happened last year to them. So they made some improvements. Now Team E, you're out of it. I can honestly say that. You lost 26. Now, to your defense, maybe you're trying different strategy to make a big impact towards the end, since you knew there was only year 14 and 15. So I'm not trying to be negative here, but clearly the strategy did not work. So talking about throwing caution to the wind, you have nothing to lose, only everything to gain. So you pretty much could try anything, and hopefully you would come out better than a minus 26 change from the previous year. Let's look at the game to date scoreboard. Now, With the year 14, Company A and Company F was tied. With the game-to-date scoreboard, which is the overall score for the simulation, Company A is leading. They actually got 2 bonus points, so that 101. Company F is at 100. And then you have Company B at 98 and Company C at 88. Company D 85, Company E at 84, and Company G at 74. So even though I was really being negative towards Company E with the year 14 score, the overall game-to-date scoreboard, they're a little bit more into it. They're at 84. So technically, I guess they do have a better chance than Company G at 74 to win it all. But what I would say to you is, at this point, for some teams, it's not about winning it all. It's, can you gain ground at the end? So like a Team G, even though you're dead last, you clearly can't win the simulation, but can you gain ground? Can you get up to 5th place or maybe in 4th place? That should be your goal. Okay, you shouldn't focus on, oh, I can't win it, so I give up. It's like, can I make up some lost time? Is that possible? And that's a victory for a team. Okay, so view it that way. So Team E, try to prove me wrong. I said you were just about out of it with the strategy you used for year 14. Try to get up to the 3rd or 4th place. That would be a huge accomplishment for you if you can. Now, I would say probably Team B and Team C are the only teams that probably still have a shot at making it all the way up to the top. It's a long shot, but you just never know, because if Team A and F become too creative and lose a lot of ground, then that would open up the door for a Team B or C to come there and may potentially get 1st or even 2nd place. Just so you know, definitely do not give up yet. And also Team A and F, you can't just coast out a simulation. Clearly, A or F, you're right there with each other. So hopefully that's a given, that you know that you got to fight to the end to win the simulation. And what I would say is, whichever team does end up on top, take great pride in that. In the past, the students who have won the simulation within their semester absolutely felt great about that accomplishment. And you should, because you're up against students who are all in the Capstone class who've taken all these classes, and you're battling out to see who can come out on top. So keep it up, everyone. Great job. That's all I had for this module. Please reach out if you have any questions. Have a great week.